Hello and welcome to Lukmaan IAS. So this is the third lecture or the third video related to the PYQs from the economy section in the UPSC Prelims. So in this particular video, we'll be discussing the PYQ of economy section for the year 2018, 2017 and 2016. And this would conclude a total discussion of 9 years right from 2016 till 2024. So quickly we'll see the questions which have been asked in these relevant years from the economy section. So first we'll take up the questions of the 2018. So the first question was, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has announced MSP for which of the following above. So we know that MSP is announced by CCEA based on recommendation of Commission on Agricultural Costs and Prices. A total of 22 crops are taken for which MSP is announced. Of these, 14 are Kharif crop, 6 are Rabi, and 2 commercial crops. To add to that, the CCEA also announced the fair and remunerative prices for sugarcane. Okay, so out of these, which of these crops fall under those MSP? It's barley, finger millet, groundnut and sesamum. Apart from these are not considered under MSP. So 2, 4, 5, 6. B is the correct answer for this particular question. Okay. So it's a factual question. You need to know about the crops which are included. You are also required to know about which all crops fall under Kharif, which all fall under Rabi. The best way is just remember the Rabi crops, and rest all would be either commercial crop or the cash crops, or the else would be Kharif crop. So you are required to know these things. They keep on asking some of these relevant developments from MSP. Okay, the second question is, with reference to the governance of public sector banking in India, consider the following statements. Capital infusion in public sector banks by the government of India has steadily increased in the last decade. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. So capital infusion is nothing but when the promoter is the owner of the company, whosoever is the real owner of the company, they bring in their own money as a part of capital for the business to run. So in case of public sector bank, we know that it is owned by the government of India. So this is infused from the government of India as a part of capital infusion program. This is most likely done in case of worsening financial health of the bank. If the financial health of the bank, like if they are making more losses, there is huge NPA pile up, there is requirement of capital infusion from the government of India. However, in the last decade, there have been fluctuating trends. Why? Because from 2016 to 2018, if you talk about this period, there was increase in capital infusion. The government of India started giving capital infusion bonds or through budgetary allocation. But post 2019, it has been found out that now the profitability of banks have been increasing and capital infusion is not required from the government of India to support public sector banks. So that is why this is incorrect. To put the public sector bank in order, the mergers of associate bank with the parent State Bank of India has been affected. This is correct. So earlier State Bank of India had various associate banks also, State Bank of Bikaner, Jaipur, State Bank of Hyderabad, State Bank of Patiala, State Bank of Travancore. There were many other banks also. So they all have been merged together into State Bank of India altogether. This is all about the plan to make sure that the capital banks or the public sector bank do not compete. There is operational efficiency as well as making sure that the core idea is financial inclusion and serving rather than competing amongst each other. Okay, so second statement is correct. B is the correct answer. Third question, consider the following. So which of the following items are exempted under GST? It's a factual question. It's 1, 2 and 4. Cereal grains hulled, chicken egg cooked and newspaper containing advertisement material. So newspaper irrespective of advertisement or not, it is exempted from GST imposition. However, advertisement itself is imposed with GST. So, advertisement content is imposed with GST, but the newspaper which is printing that advertisement is not is exempted from any GST which is levied. Okay. Apart from this, there is a GST on fish processed and canned. So, 1, 2 and 4 are the correct answers. C is the correct answer for this particular question. It's a factual thing, or it may be, so you need to gauge about the relevant development. All these developments are roughly 5 years back. However, they still hold today, they still hold true today also. However, you are required to know about the developments if they keep on changing. Since it's a dynamic thing, there could be certain changes in the GST regime. So, you are required to know about certain things. If you are knowing these things, then only you try to attempt this question, else you can skip this question. These questions are meant to be skipped. Okay. Fourth question. So, with reference to Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, Kaushal is obviously, you are talking about the skill development, so it could be easily eliminated. The first statement is easily eliminated. So, it is a flagship scheme of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Skill Development and Entrepreneurship rather than Ministry of Labour and Employment. So, first is incorrect. It, among other things, will also impart training in soft skills. This is correct. Entrepreneurship, financial and digital literacy. This is correct. And third, it aims to align the competencies of unregulated workforce of the country to the National Skill Qualification Framework, NSQF. This is correct. Through recognition of prior learning. Recognition of prior learning. This is known as RPL. If there is a non-formal sources of training, like say inherited training or from training from generational transfers, like a person got training from his father who was a skilled person, then that training is also considered to be part of skill and certification is issued. So, second and third statements are correct. C is the correct answer for question number 4th. Fifth, which of the following statement correctly describes the meaning of legal tender? So, legal tender means it is legal obligation to accept the currency as payment settlement. No one can deny it. So, this is all about, it is the money which a creditor is under compulsion to accept in settlement of his claims. Suppose there is a due amount in terms of the debt which is due to be paid, the debtor can pay it in a legal tender or whatsoever currency is considered to be legal tender, and the creditor cannot deny it that I am not accepting that particular legal tender. This is not allowed. Okay. So, that is a definition of legal tender. B is the correct answer for question number 5. Okay, if a commodity is provided free of cost or free to public by the government, then the opportunity cost is transferred from the consumer of the product to the tax paying public. Basically, it is talking about what is opportunity cost, what is the next best alternative which is foregone, which is not selected. So, what happens if there is a free of cost things which are given, a kind of freebies, then nothing is happening, it is all about the money, or the burden is being taken by the tax paying public. Rather, it is free, which is looking like, okay, the person who is enjoying it is free of cost. Nothing is free in economics. Someone is taking that burden, and that burden is being taken by the tax paying public. Okay. C is the correct answer. So, that is why there have been certain reservation about the freebie politics whatsoever has been going around, all because that there is a rationale behind freebie politics if the targeting is perfect. However, if the end beneficiaries are the one who should not have been entitled to get certain benefits, then obviously the opportunity cost of losing out of using that particular money for better alternatives is foregone, and that is a negative thing. That is not good for the economy. If a rich person is enjoying subsidy on electricity, that money could have been used for some other capital development work. So, that is all about the opportunity cost. Okay. So, increase in absolute and per capita real GNP. GNP is gross national product. Gross national product is gross domestic product, GDP plus net factor income from abroad, NFIA. Do not connote a higher level of economic development if poverty and unemployment increases. which shows increasing levels of wealth concentration. So this is saying that even if the absolute and per capita real GNP, the absolute GDP per capita is increasing, it does not mean that economic development is happening. Why? If poverty and unemployment increases, that means that few people are actually contributing more to the income and they are pocketing most of the rewards. And this is an example of, this is a manifestation of a country which is facing high levels of unemployment and high levels of poverty, or a classic case of wealth concentration. Okay. Eighth question. Consider the following statements. Human capital formation as a concept is better explained in terms of human capital formation. So human resource is being converted into human capital through skilling and training. So it is all about individuals increasing the knowledge, skill levels and capacities of the people. A classic example is capability approach by our economist. Okay. So this is, first is incorrect, second is correct. Okay. Amartya Sen's concept of capability approach. Second is accumulation of intangible wealth. What is human capital? Human capital is different from physical capital. Physical capital can be touched. If you have bought machineries, equipments, many plants and all these can be touched, these are tangible. But human capital also have the potential to earn income for the economy. But these are intangible assets like skill development, like communication, soft skills, and all these things are intangible, they cannot be touched. So second and fourth are correct. It is C as the correct answer for question number 8th. Okay. Ninth, despite being a high saving economy. So high saving economy means there is a higher savings rate in the economy. What is savings rate? So if you talk about the income of an economy or output, income and output are synonymous. If you try to evaluate the output in say valuation terms, that is income, and that is represented by Y, income. This is equal to consumption plus saving. So all the income is either consumed or a portion of it is saved. So for an economy, if there is a higher savings rate, if this is very high, capital formation, there is a condition, it is saying that the economy is having a high savings rate. It has a very high savings rate, but capital formation may not result in significant increase in output. So that means that the money which is saved is being used for capital formation, and that is why there is another equation, that is Y, or income, is considered to be consumption plus investment. I is investment, and that means savings is channelized into investment. So savings is channelized into investment. Investment is nothing but capital formation, gross fixed capital formation, a part of the aggregate demand. So if that does not happen, despite having high savings rate, capital formation is being done, but that is not increasing output. Why? Because of very high capital output ratio. High capital output ratio means this is mean amount or total capital needed for 1 unit increase in output. Incremental capital output ratio or high capital output ratio, that is similar thing, increase in output. So for 1 unit increase in output, how much amount of capital is required? The lower is the value, the better or efficient is the economy. That means better or productive use of capital is being made. If there is higher capital requirement for 1 unit increase in output, that means the economy is working at an inefficiency, there is obsolete in technology, and all these things are being creeping in as far as economic activities are concerned. So that is why if there is high savings rate, there is high capital formation, but still output is not increasing, it's all because of high capital output ratio. 10th, consider the following statements. The Reserve Bank of India manages and services Government of India securities, but not any state government securities. This is incorrect. The Reserve Bank of India services both the Government of India securities, the GSECs, as well as the state government securities. These are known as state development loans, SDL. But these are necessarily long-term debt instruments. So, RBI services only the long-term debt instruments which are floated by the state governments. However, RBI services both the short-term debt instruments which are known as treasury bills as well as the long-term dated securities which are known as government securities as far as the central government or the Government of India is concerned, but not in case of the state government. For state government, it is only the long-term instruments known as the state development loans which are serviced by the Reserve Bank of India. So, first is incorrect. They service the state government securities. Treasury bills are issued by the Government of India and there are no treasury bills issued by the state governments. This is correct. Treasury bills are short-term instrument which are maturing before 365 days. They have fixed tenure of 91 days, 182 days and 364 days. However, they are not issued by the respective state governments. They can only be issued by the central government. Treasury bills are issued at discount from the par value. This is correct. This is why they are known as discounted bond. So that means treasury bills do not have any interest payment or coupon payment. They are issued at discount. Suppose the face value is rupees 100. So what is face value? What is discounted value? You are required to know about these terms from the debt market, of the capital market and money market terminologies, which are often being asked in the UPSC examination. So they are issued at discount. Suppose the face value of the securities is rupees 100. That means at the time of maturity, whosoever is holding that security would be getting rupees 100 at the time of expiry. However, at the time of issuance, they would be issued at discount. That means they may be issued at rupees 90 and they may be redeemed at rupees 100 or the par value at the time of maturity. So from 90 to 100 is what is the return that is generated on these treasury bills. There is no direct coupon payment of fixed interest payments, which is the case of treasury bills. So both the 2 and 3 statements are correct. C is the correct answer for question number 10th. 11th. So consider the following statements. Capital adequacy ratio. This is also known as capital to risk weighted asset ratio. Capital to risk weighted asset. Asset ratio is the amount that banks have to maintain in the form of their own funds to offset any loss that bank incur if the account holders fail to repay dues. That means they need to have their own reserves plus supplementary reserves. This is known as tier 1 capital and this is known as tier 2 capital. So total of these tier 1 plus tier 2 capital upon the risk weighted assets, whatsoever there is a risk weight which is being given for say unsecured lending like credit card, whatsoever is loans, the risk weight could be very high. But for secured lending like home loans, the risk weight could be very less. Over those risk weighted asset gives you a ratio and that is CRAR. And CRAR are to be implemented. They have to be adhered to as per the Basel III norms. Basel III norms prescribes that minimum CRAR should be 8%. However, RBI prescribes 9% CRAR for normal scheduled commercial bank and 12% CRAR for public sector banks. And they also prescribe 15% CRAR for other say small finance bank and other banks. It may be non-banking financial companies also. So the idea is if there is any risk of non-performing assets, risk of provisions, if the bank is facing losses, they should have their own capital to rescue the bank. That is the idea and that should not lead to any systemic risk. That is the idea behind CRAR. Okay, so this statement is correct. CAR or this is synonymous with capital adequacy ratio. This is the same thing. The official terminology is CRAR. Okay, CAR is decided by individual banks. This is incorrect. However, I would say that the statement framing is incomplete. Minimum CRAR is defined by RBI. Individual level CAR can be decided upon by the banks depending upon their financial health, whatsoever risks that they can take. So, the statement has certain ambiguity. However, as per the UPSC answers and whatsoever they have the answer key, they have said that this statement is incorrect. But this should have been minimum capital adequacy ratio. CAR over and above minimum can be individual bank, they can decide it, and likewise Indian banks like HDFCs have been HDFC or ICICI private sector banks have been maintaining CRAR as high as 17-18%. Even overall the banking system, if you talk about the latest economic survey 24-25 has said that the capital adequacy ratio of the overall banking system in India is around about 16.7%. This is the latest data. So, we are adequately capitalized. Okay. So, statement 1 is correct. So, of late they have refined their statements. Earlier they used to be quite crude in UPSC, and because in economy these simple terminologies can have far reaching meanings. It could be different, it could be signifying different meaning. So, that is why now they are more categorical whenever they come out with these statements. Okay. With reference to the provisions made under the National Food Security Act 2013, consider the following statements. Family coming under the category of BPL only are eligible? No. Not only BPL, they are considered to be part of Targeted Public Distribution System TPDS. However, over and above that, more than 2/3 of India's population, around about 80 crore population has beneficiaries, have benefits under the National Food Security Act, and the scheme which is implementing and making sure that the ration or the food grains are being supplied at free of cost, that is Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, that covers round about 50% of India's urban population and 75% of India's rural population. Overall 2/3, 67% of India's population. That does not mean that 67% of India's population is poor. The poverty rates could be around about 5 to 6% in India currently, as per the estimated figures. The current household consumption expenditure survey has said that poverty levels in India could be around about 5% or 6%. So, that is the idea. NFSA is also allowed for people not only from BPL. This is incorrect. The eldest woman in a household of 18 years or above shall be the head of the household for the purpose of issuance of a ration card. This is correct. Pregnant woman and lactating mother are entitled to THR, take home ration, up to 600 calories. Not 1600 is too much. Okay. During pregnancy and for 6 months thereafter. Third is incorrect. A factual information. So, B is the correct answer only. It's 2 only. Okay. So, these are the, you can say, small provisions. If you know it, you try to attempt these questions. If you're not knowing it and you have attempted quite a bit questions, many questions which you feel confident that you have attempted correct questions, try to skip these types of questions. Okay. 13th. With reference to India's decision to levy an equalization levy. So, this question is from 2018. However, this year's budget, 25-26 budget, 2025 and 26, the finance minister has proposed to abolish this equalization levy of 6%. But this question pertains to the development in 2018. So, we need to come and look at the question from that perspective. With reference to India's decision to levy an equalization levy of 6% on online advertisement services offered by non-resident entities, which of the following statements are correct? It is introduced as a part of the Income Tax Act? No. It is a part of the Finance Bill rather than the Income Tax Act. There is nothing such. Income tax has added these types of provisions. Non-resident entities that offer advertisement services in India cannot claim tax credit as a part of double taxation avoidance agreement. So, if they have provided services in India, India has all the rights to impose this equalization levy as a part of direct tax. This is a part of direct tax. So, this statement is also incorrect. Both the statements are incorrect. D is the correct answer. So, consider the following statements. The Fiscal Responsibility and Budgetary Management Review Committee report has recommended a debt to GDP ratio of 60% for the general government combined. That means general government means state government and central government combined. This is correct. comprising 40% for the central government, this is also correct, and 20% for the state government, this is correct. This whole statement is correct, this is factually correct. This is the NK Singh Review Committee on the FRBM Act. Okay, the central government has domestic liabilities of around about 56% currently, and state governments have liabilities of 25% round about. So total liabilities are around about 81%. So debt to GDP ratio, public debt to GDP ratio of India is currently 81%, of which 56% is central government and 25% is state government. So this statement is incorrect. As per the Constitution of India, it is mandatory for a state to take central government's consent for raising any loan in the former, if the former owes any outstanding liabilities to the latter. This is correct. So state governments cannot have foreign loans if there is a liability to the central government. They need to take the permission from the state, from the central government. So first and third statements are correct. C is the correct answer for question number 14. 15th question number. Which of the following links all the ATMs in India? It is National Payment Corporation of India, NPCI. This is factual information. The same thing which is ushering in all the digital payment system, be it the UPI, RuPay, Bharat Bill payment systems, all are being developed by the National Payment Corporation of India. Okay. Now, questions from 2017. So the first question is, what are the advantages of implementing the National Agriculture Market or ENAM? They are talking about the electronic National Agriculture Market. However, the framing is incorrect again. This is talking about the advantages. However, the statements have been given as what is the meaning of ENAM. So we will consider to be what is being asked. So it is a pan-India electronic trading platform or portal for agricultural commodities. This is correct. Around about all more say 500 to 600 mandis or APMCs have been connected. So there is a freedom for all the for the farmers to sell whosoever they want to sell, rather than just getting stuck to the local mandi. This is the idea behind ENAM. And the second statement, it provides the farmers access to nationwide market with prices commensurate with the quality of their produce. This is correct. Both the statements are correct. However, these are not advantages. These are talking about the features of ENAM. So this is how the UPSC has also evolved in terms of asking questions which are more categorical, which are more, you can say, correct in terms of the validity. So they used to have certain errors in terms of the question. So C is the correct answer. Which of the following statements are correct regarding the Monetary Policy Committee? So Monetary Policy Committee is a statutory committee as per the RBI Act 1934. So it's a 6-member body committee. So it decides the RBI benchmark interest rate or the policy repo rate. This is correct. Policy repo rate. It is decided by the Monetary Policy Committee based on voting. This is correct. It is a 6-member body committee. 3 from the Government of India nomination and 3 from the RBI, including the Reserve Bank of India governor. So in case of a tie, if there is a tie of 3-3, then RBI governor has the power to vote in the second instance. That is known as the casting vote. So he or she can vote 2 times. It functions under the chairmanship of the Union Finance Minister. This is incorrect. It is RBI governor. So this is again incorrect. This is second is also incorrect, sorry. So first statement is only correct. 1 only is the correct answer for question number 2. Question number 3. Consider the following statements. National Payment Corporation of India, NPCI, helps in promoting the financial inclusion in the country. This is correct. As I have told you, RuPay, UPI, eNACH, or you talk about Bharat Bill payment system, or are the developments of National Payment Corporation of India. This is an umbrella organization which has, you can say, ownership from the Reserve Bank of India and also the public sector banks. Okay, this is correct. NPCI has launched RuPay, a card payment system. This is also correct. Both the statements are correct. So RuPay development has led to the, you can say, slowdown of the growth of these MasterCards and Visa. They have accused that India is actually I can say they are aggressively promoting RuPay, and this is all about the domestic you can say developments in the financial sector which India has leveraged. Question number 4th. What are the most likely advantages of implementing the goods and services tax? So this got implemented in 2017. So like that is why this question have been asked in 2017. So it will replace. So this question was asked before its implementation. Okay, so it got implemented on the 1st of July 2017. I guess most probably the prelims got over before 1st of July. So that is why this is in talking about the future aspects. It will replace the multi-tax collected by multiple authorities and will create a single market in India. This is correct. This is known as reducing the impact of cascading taxation, tax on tax. This was the idea behind implementation of GST. It will drastically reduce the current account deficit. There is no connection of current account deficit. Current account deficit is all about the balance of payment. It's all about the transactions which are happening between Indian resident and rest of the world involving foreign currency and local currency. But this is all about within India transaction. So there is no concept of current account deficit. This is an absurd statement. It will enormously increase the growth and size of India's economy. There's no link. It's all about streamlining the indirect tax regime. So rather than having multiple taxes and that leads to have certain tensions between the center and state, they have created a unified indirect taxation regime where some of the tax collection power have been forfeited by the center and have been allowed for the states. Likewise, some of the tax collection power have been forfeited by the state and the same has been given to center. There is an arrangement through a constitutional body known as the GST Council, which takes all the decisions regarding the whatsoever fine tuning which is required in GST. Okay. This is also incorrect. First statement is only correct. A is the correct answer. Okay. So tax revenue as a percent of GDP of India has steadily increased in the last decade. No. It has remained around about 12% of GDP for the central government. And central and state combined it is 18%. And it has been consistent. Even though the GDP size has increased, tax collection has increased, but the ratio has not improved significantly, although it went down. In between 2014 to 2016, it went down and again started picking up. Post-COVID, it has picked up. Post-COVID, there has been more tax compliances, especially in the direct taxes, income taxes and corporate taxes. Fiscal deficit as a percentage of India's GDP has steadily increased. No, this has steadily decreased. It has steadily decreased. Okay, both the statements are incorrect. Again, fact or trend based question. If you know it, you try to attempt it, else you try to skip these questions. So which of the following has occurred in India after its liberalization of economic policy in 1991? Liberalization means lower restrictions, that is liberalization. Share of agriculture GDP has reduced. So earlier in 1991, it was around about 30%. Round about in 2017, the question before it came down to 16%. So this is incorrect. Share of India's exports in the world has increased. This is correct. From 1.2% for goods plus services combined, it has moved to 2.4% for goods plus services combined. Individually in goods also they have increased, but the increase in goods or merchandise exports have not been very high. In goods, India has not been so much exporter, but in services, India's share in global services exports have hit as high as 4.5%. That is huge. Okay, this is correct. FDI inflows have increased. This is correct. The FDI which has come to India, if you talk about the current data, recently only the government of India or the Ministry of Commerce and Industry has shared that India has cumulatively received FDI worth $1 trillion or 1,000 billion after liberalization. This is the idea. Okay. So India's foreign exchange reserves has increased enormously. This is also correct. At the time in 1991, it was roughly 5-6 billion. Now we are, if you talk about the current data, we are around about 680 to 690 billion. So that is enormous, 100 times increase. So 2, 3, 4 statements are correct. B is the correct answer. Okay. So scheme for sustainable structuring of stressed asset. This was all during the time of 2016 when the NPA levels, NPA or the gross NPA to the total GDP levels, they reached very high. Within that time only, the government of India brought in many of the, or the RBI brought in many of those schemes, one of them being S4A. It talked about, it talks about it is a scheme of RBI for reworking the financial structure of big corporate entities facing genuine difficulties. So there are two types of stress. One is deliberate. If the person or if the company is deliberately not paying their EMIs or whatsoever liabilities that they have to settle. One is some of these companies are genuinely under stress because of the adverse market condition, because of the adverse business or economic condition. If these companies are not their debts are not restructured, they can collapse, and that would be loss for the economy in long term. So that is why the scheme was brought in for those companies which have genuine stressful scenario for restructuring of their debt in terms of the payment system, in terms of the total tenure which is restructured. Eighth question. With reference to the National Intellectual Property Rights Policy, consider the following statements. It reiterates India's commitment to the Doha Development Agenda and the TRIPS agreement. This is correct. The Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, or DIPP, is the nodal agency. This is also correct. However, currently this DIPP has changed into DPIIT, Department for Promotion of Investment and Internal Trade. That is DPIIT. But the statement is correct. Both the statements are correct. C is the correct answer. Ninth question. Which of the following is the most likely consequence of implementation of UPI? Obviously, what is the most likely positive effect? That we do not require wallets. Mobile wallets will not be necessarily required for online payments. Now we can directly pay to the bank accounts using the virtual payment address, which is a feature of UPI. The phone number at Access, ICICI, at YBL, at OK SBI, these are the virtual payment access address, VPA. Ninth, A is the correct answer. Tenth question. What is the purpose of setting up of small finance bank? This is also known as differentiated bank. So they cater to a specific segment of clients, specifically those which are from low economic spectrum. So to supply credit to small businesses, this is feature. To supply credit to small and marginal farmers, this is also one of the core mandate. To encourage young entrepreneurs to set up businesses, particularly in rural areas, this is also correct. They cannot cater to large businesses. This is the mandate behind the small finance bank. All are correct. D is the correct. And other differentiated bank is payments bank, which cannot give loans. So which of the following are the objectives of National Nutrition Mission? This is also known as POSHAN. This is an umbrella scheme for tracking all those schemes where nutritional, you can say, profiles have to be improved, be it the Women and Child Development Ministry, be it the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. All have been incorporated onto a POSHAN tracker. So to create awareness related to malnutrition among pregnant women and lactating mother, this is correct. To reduce the incidence of anemia among young children, adolescent girls and women, this is also correct. To promote the consumption of millets, not explicitly mentioned. To promote the consumption of poultry, not explicitly mentioned. So 1 and 2 are only the features of objectives of National Nutrition Mission or POSHAN Abhiyan. A is the correct answer for question number 11th. So what is the purpose of Vidyanjali Yojana? To increase the quality of education provided in government schools by taking help from private sector and community. This is volunteering. So private teachers can volunteer to teach in those schools which are run by the government. That is the idea behind Vidyanjali Yojana. So second is only correct. There is no monetary contribution. This is incorrect. To enable famous foreign education institution to open campuses, this is also not correct. And the last question, I guess, from the 2017 was with reference to National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, NIIF. So NIIF is an alternate investment fund. AIF, alternate investment fund. which pools money, it's a funds of fund, which pools money for promotion of infrastructure, for development of infrastructure in India. It is an organ of Niti Aayog? No. It is an AIF under SEBI, Security and Exchange Board of India, not Niti Aayog. It is a corpus of 40,000 crore, not 4 lakh crore, 40,000 crores. This is also incorrect. Factual data, sorry, D is the correct answer. Neither 1 nor 2 for question number 13th. Okay. Now, the last year which we will be covering in the series of these 3 videos, that is 2016. Okay. Beyond that, before you can say 2015, these are now becoming largely irrelevant from the perspective of PYQ. However, you are required to go and see on a, you can say, quickly scan these questions. Else, I would say that from 2016 till 2024, 9-10 years are sufficient for PYQs from economy, because you may be practicing many of those mocks also, you will get those information. So it has been so that they have been asking certain conceptual question, basic question, but they also try to ask questions from the contemporary development in economy which has happened in the last 2-3 years, not as back as 10-15 years. Okay. Until unless it is not a flagship year like new economic policy 1991 or COVID 2020, they could be asking some of these development in those years, because those were transformational years. With reference to IFC masala bonds, sometimes seen in the news, which of the statements given above are correct? The International Finance Corporation, which is a part of World Bank Group, which offers this bond, is an arm of World Bank. This is correct. So masala bonds are the local currency denominated bond which are issued in foreign market. So that is all issued to reduce currency risk. The issue is that suppose masala bond is issued in Indian currency, it would be issued in foreign market, but the currency would be Indian currency. And only those bond issuer, the subscriber, the one who is buying the bond is taking the currency risk, not the issuer. Those who are buying it, bond holders are taking the risk, not the issuer. Issuer will be paying interest also in Indian rupees, would be paying the principal amount at the time of maturity in Indian currency only. There won't be any exchange rates involving. That is masala bond. They are the rupee denominated bonds and are source of debt financing for public and private sector. This is also correct. Both the statements are correct. C is the correct answer. Okay. Second question. In the context of which of the following do you sometimes find the word amber box subsidies, blue box and green box? It is all about the World Trade Organization, WTO affairs. So they have all these aggregate measures of support, what all subsidies are allowed, what all subsidies have to be reduced, and what all subsidies are not allowed. So that is how WTO has this agreement on agriculture, part of agreement on agriculture. A is the correct answer. Again, 2016 recently, which of the following currencies have been proposed to be added to the basket of IMF special drawing rights? Special drawing rights. So the latest currency has been Chinese yuan or renminbi. D, the currency of China. Okay. Fourth, India's ranking in the ease of doing business index is sometimes seen in the news. Which of the following has declared the ranking? World Bank. Although this ranking has been stopped since 2020, I guess, because of certain issues regarding the data collection. So they are not truly reflective of the things which are on ground. That is why they have stopped, or 2023, I am not aware about the exact development, but they have stopped coming out of the ranking. So which of the following best describes the term import cover? So import cover is nothing but it is the number of months of import that could be paid by countries' international reserves, or known as forex reserves. Suppose India has forex reserves of 600 billion USD. And average monthly import is 60 billion USD. So import cover is 600 upon 60, that is 10 months. This is all about import cover. D is the correct answer. Sixth question. With reference to Financial Stability and Development Council, FSDC, consider the following statement. It is an organ of Niti Aayog? No. It is an autonomous system which has been created to evaluate the risk, systemic risk in India's financial system. It is a body which is headed by Union Finance Minister. Union Finance Minister. It is headed by Union Finance Minister and has members from RBI, Governor of RBI, Chairman of SEBI, Chairman of Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India and Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority of India. So all these chairmen and governors are also members and they constitute the Financial Stability and Development Council. It is headed by Union Finance Minister, this is correct. It monitors macroprudential supervision of the economy, this is also correct. They come out with the policy, the potential risks and the policy prescription in the overall financial framework of India. Okay. So 2 and 3 are correct. C is the correct answer for question number 6. 7th. The establishment of payments bank is being allowed in India to promote financial inclusion. Which of the following statements are correct in this context? Mobile telephone companies, obviously Airtel has come out with Airtel Payments Bank, and supermarket chains that are owned and controlled by residents are eligible to be promoters of payment banks. This is correct. Payment bank can issue both credit and debit card. No, they cannot issue credit card. They cannot issue loan or credit. That is the limitation. They can only be a part of payment systems. They cannot undertake lending activities. Third statement, this is correct. That is the differentiation between small finance bank and payments bank. Payments bank can accept deposit but cannot issue loans. That is why they can issue debit cards but cannot issue credit card. Credit card is a part of loan which is extended through card. 1 and 3 are correct. B is the correct answer for question number 7th. 8th. What are the purposes of the marginal cost of fund based lending rate, MCLR? MCLR helps in monetary policy transmission. Monetary policy transmission. So if the repo rates have been cut, was that cut passed on to the market or not? That is monetary policy transmission, and that is why marginal cost of funding based lending rate, MCLR, have been brought in, and of late they have brought in the external benchmark lending rate, EBLR, for direct monetary policy transmission. So these guidelines help improve the transparency in the methodology followed by banks for determining the interest rates on advances. This is correct. So what would be the rates on loans? That would be determined by MCLR. So MCLR helps in ensuring that if there is a cut or if there is an increase in repo rates, that has to be passed on to the market, be it the depositor or be it the creditors. Okay. These guidelines help ensure availability of bank credit at interest rates which are fair to the borrowers as well as the banks. So the cost should be a win-win situation. It should be it should be beneficial for the banks that their interest margin should also be good. At the same time, it should not be too high that should be discouraging in case of total credit growth, total demand of loan. If the rates are very high, all the MCLR rates have been cut, then ideally the lending rates, the rate of loans should go down, but the banks would try to increase their profit margins. However, that would be a loss for the person who is taking the loan. So it has to be win-win situation from both the creditors, the lenders, as well as the borrowers. Okay, both the statements are correct. The further development has been EBLR, external benchmark lending rate. Benchmark lending rate, direct. So they are directly primed with the actual rates, like it would be say policy repo rate plus 5%. So whatsoever would be the policy rate, if policy rates changes, the interest rate would automatically get changed. That is external benchmark lending rate. C is the correct answer for question number 8. Question 9. What are the purposes of government sovereign gold bond scheme and gold monetization? To bring the ideal gold lying with Indian household in the economy, this is correct. To promote FDI in the gold and jewelry sector, this is not direct consequent. To reduce India's dependence on imports, gold imports, first and third only. Okay, so what they want to do that rather than promoting physical import of gold, why not those golds which are kept idle in those lockers should be brought in through gold monetization scheme, or issuance of can say paper gold, like sovereign gold bond, which would be a reflection of whatsoever is the prices of the gold in the international market. This is sovereign gold bond. So C is the correct answer, 1 and 3. So which of the following are included in capital budget? Capital budget means asset liability part of the government. So you need to check whether loans are being taken or being provided, that is also liability or asset, or whether any capital expenditure or payments are being. Expenditure on acquisition of assets, this is known as capex, capital expenditure, a part of capital budget. Loans received, this is also capex, so this is also part of capital receipt or a part of capital budget. And loans granted, this is also part of capital budget. All three are part of capital budget. It could be debt creating or not debt creating. Okay. C. D. All the statements are, all the provisions are part of capital budget. 11th, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana is aimed at bringing the small entrepreneur into formal financial system that has credit to non-farm sector. So it has 4 categories now. Earlier it used to be 3: Shishu, Kishore, Tarun, and of late Tarun Plus. Limits are up to rupees 50,000, from 50k to 5 lakh. For Kishore, Tarun is 5 lakh to 10 lakh. And then Tarun Plus is up to 20 lakh. But Tarun Plus only gets unlocked if there is prompt repayment. Loan was taken under Tarun and it was repaid, then only the higher slab of 20 lakh gets unlocked. So A is the correct answer. 12th question. Regarding Atal Pension Yojana, which of the following statements are correct? It is a minimum guarantee pension scheme mainly targeted at unorganized sectors. This is correct. A pension of minimum of rupees 1,000 up to 5,000 depending upon what particular premium amount is being chosen by the subscriber. That defines the pension which would be received by the subscriber at the age of 60 years. Only one members of the family can join the scheme. There is nothing such. Anyone can join, which are between the age of 18 to 40 years. Okay, same amount of pension is guaranteed for the spouse for life after subscriber death. This is correct. First and third are correct. C is the correct answer for this particular question. So base erosion and profit shifting is sometimes seen in the news in the context of curbing tax evasion by multinational company. It is part of OECD G20 framework. So Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development as well as G20 have advocated this BEPS, base erosion and profit shifting. It is a part of this. Now there is a condition, there has been persistent deficit budget. Okay, this is an established thing year after year. Which action or actions of the following should be taken by the government to reduce the deficit? So it should reduce expenditure or increase revenue. So reducing revenue expenditure, this is correct. Introducing new welfare scheme, this is increasing expenditures. It should not be a part of this. Rationalizing subsidies, again reducing expenditure, this is correct. Reducing import duty, this is again incorrect, because if import duties are reduced, then revenues are reduced rather than increased. So first and third would lead to reduction in deficit. C is the correct answer for question number 14. With reference to Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, consider the following statements. I guess this is the last question for 2016. Under the scheme, farmer will have to pay a uniform premium of 2%. No. Premiums are 2%, 1.5% and 5%. 2% for Kharif crop, 1.5% for Rabi and 5% for horticultural crops. So this is incorrect. The scheme covers post-harvest losses arising out of cyclonic and unseasonal rains. This is correct. So second statement is only correct out of the statements given. So that concludes all the discussions regarding PYQs from 2016 till 2024. You're required to just flip the videos and scroll and quickly revise before your prelims examination to have gauge about the questions which are asked and how the patterns have been. Thank you from my side. Thank you.